I want to share with you some of the stories that I have mentally collected over my 21 years as a therapist and body worker. Obviously, in therapeutic work or healing modalities and body work, touch is at the essence of it. I like to, what I would call a clean touch. And a clean touch for me is when the heart is pure, you're working from a heart center, heart is pure, your thoughts are matching what's in your heart, because what's in your heart travels down your arms and comes off your hands. So touch is hugely important, and even just that simple communication through touch is enough to release the hormone, the oxytocin, that's known as the love hormone or the cuddle hormone. And we know when we're out shopping, whether it's for clothes or food, we always touch. Everything has to be touched. So I want to tell you the story about Sarah Primrose. Sarah, I met on Northern Ireland. She lived in Fermanagh direction, Enniskillen direction, Orker, Clorker was Enniskillen direction. Sarah lived in a house that was over 400 years old, had the big, thick walls, the wee square windows, the half door that was painted red on the outside, and obviously the cottage was whitewashed, though it was in need of some repair. But Sarah was a spinster, so never married, no children. Her last family member was her brother who died, and Sarah used to wear her brother's Wellingtons that were massive for her. When I was standing up and Sarah stood up, she wasn't the height of my elbow. She was small, she was bent double. I would go and sit with Sarah. She'd say she lived in the country. Her lane was a mile long. She had no transport. She had no water, no electricity, no toilet facilities. And I would go and sit with Sarah. She was, I think because she spent so much time on her own, she got quite cranky. She was a cross wee woman. I didn't mind that. And I think too, she was lonely, and as I would sit with her when I could to give her company, and I would sit in a wee three-legged stool as she would make the tea in this big open fire. The house was, I suppose you would say, it was cluttered. It was very dark because the windows were quite small, but also because of the smoke coming from this big chimney. It would blow down the chimney and fill the house. You had to actually use a flash lamp to see behind the sofa, though given the living room was quite small. But Sarah would spend her days there waiting on visitors to come and to relieve her, I suppose, loneliness. As I got to know Sarah, and we were sitting, she would give you the yarn or the crack, and she got up to either like stoke the fire or wet the tea, as we would say. Sarah would put her hand on my leg to propel herself up, and then she would kind of pause. So her hand would be on my knee, so I would put my other hand just on top. And she'd wait, and the wee fingers were bony and gnarly, like they were working hands. They were she still kept cows, she kept them as pets, but her hands had been working hands. And she would just wait and have that little bit of contact, that little bit of warmth. And it's just that warmth, but it's also the intention that's behind the touch that can really help to make a difference to people. Another story when I think about the hand contact was when I was a therapist for the Simon community in Coleraine. And it was a group that looking back, I was not mentally prepared for the work that I was to do there and didn't have previous experience of it. But there was one female participant that they used to bring. Well, it took quite a while to actually get her to attend the wee workshops and that. And then when she did, she wanted to come by herself. She didn't want to be in a group, which was fine. So also you could see there was a lot of trauma. She'd experienced a lot of trauma in her life. And initially we would just start off sitting. I would sit here and she would sit there. We would just sit in the same space, holding that space. We're not trying to fill the space, just sitting and allowing her to be. Eventually I got to move closer to her. So this was over a period of time. Then we could get to make contact. So when you've been making contact with somebody who's had or experienced a lot of trauma, or who has withdrawn and doesn't like touch, you don't dominate, you don't hold their hand so they can't get away. So I would place my hand underneath her hand. I would offer my hand like this, and she would place her hand on top. And that would be enough sometimes, just a little bit of touch like this. Eventually, through time, I was then fit to, bring my hand to the front of her hand and start to do a little massage like this, introducing this touch to her. And in a way that felt safe for her, in a way that supported her nervous system. And eventually, over time, I would be fit to slide my hand in underneath, just like this, underneath her jumper or top that she was wearing, and massage her forearm and sweep down in underneath the back of her forearm, coming off the palm of her hand. And for me, I did get a shock when I put my hand up underneath the top, because she had been self-harming, and it felt, I mean, I didn't see it, and it felt pretty horrific. And I tried to keep that compassion and hold that safe space without reacting to him. So just that touch and builds up trust. Touch signals safety, it signals trust, and it soothes. Touch as well can release cardiovascular stress. So a simple touch can trigger the release of oxytocin, and oxytocin, as we know, is that love or cuddle hormone. So the next time that you get the opportunity to offer touch in a safe and trusting way. Thank you.